The 1975 is the self-titled debut of the band The 1975. It is no secret that this band defined the Tumblr era, but we tend to look back more fondly on the good times that we had on the site. So let's tackle the nostalgia. Is it really as good as we remember? You're watching Tumblr Retrospective on The Current. The 1975 is a four-piece band formed in 2002 in Wimslow, Cheshire in the United Kingdom. However, they really came up in Manchester. The band consists of guitarist Adam Hahn, bassist Ross McDonald, drummer and producer George Daniel, and a millennial that baby boomers like, and the internet's most hated nepo baby, singer and lyricist Matty Healy. The breakout song from this album is Chocolate, and it led to the amazing interpretation of the song in this Tumblr post. Right out the gate, I think it's important to address and to be transparent about the fact that I am going to be biased in this video. I was a huge 1975 fan in the 2010s. I saw them 4 times before COVID, and I even once queued up 7 hours for a pop-up to meet them, and it was around the time of the I Like It When You Sleep release. I've decided to first and foremost talk about this album, and then afterwards, when we get to the end, we will get to the elephant in the room. I'll be talking about the deluxe version of this record. This is not the version that I have here, but there's a lot of songs from the deluxe version that were very popular on the platform, like So Far It's Alright, Me, You, and subsequently Milk, Undo, Falling For You. Those were all inescapable on Tumblr. This album also has so many quotable moments, which I will get to later. The album itself takes lots of risks and does amazing genre blending. That's confusing for a lot of listeners, which is why the 1975 tends to come across pretentious for some. But I think it has a lot to offer in terms of innovation and offering a new approach to making indie rock electropop. There's always been a great appreciation for house and garage in the 1975's catalogue, and they give their own spin on it. And personally, I think this album has a lot to offer in terms of creative guitar work. Lots of the leads are incredibly catchy and well performed, soaked in reverb and effects, thousands of plugins, but I must admit that's just something that I personally love. It just makes it all so atmospheric, and it makes the 1975 a one-of-a-kind band. Coupled this with their recognizable aesthetic, lyrics about drugs and girls, and it's a recipe for a band to blow up on Tumblr. Without further ado, let's talk about the album cover. Healy has referenced the 80s as inspiration to use a neon sign, but wanting it to be chic. Mentioning in an interview referring to a label meeting, I don't want to do this big neon sign in an alleyway, but thinking after the fact, wait, maybe I do. In collaboration with Samuel Burgess Johnson, Matty Healy's former flatmate, is the birth of both the box, the rectangle strongly associated with the band, and the returning of this iconic format of the neon sign against the wall, which would be reimagined for their sophomore album. This first album also utilized a heavy black and white aesthetic like other contemporaries at the time, such as Arctic Monkeys and The Neighborhood. It's crazy to imagine now, but the 1975 actually opened up for The Neighborhood on a tour once upon a time. Still our most conceptual record to date, even though it was our debut album, a weird debut album. It was the apocalyptic sense of being a teenager in a major key. Put a bow on it, that's the record. The feeling of being a teenager, it's like the apocalypse. It's like everything that happens you have a kind of zero responsibility for, but it's the most important thing that could ever happen. To be honest, at 23, if it looked like my band was gonna get big, I probably wouldn't have made it as my first album, because it is super reaching, and people were a bit like, what? Matty Healy mentions in a video interview with Pitchfork. I want to go into all the memorable quotes from this album because I feel like I see a lot of these floating around on the internet and people might not know that it could be a 1975 quote. You've got a pretty kind of dirty face. He's got his gun, he's got his suit on. She says, babe, you look so cool. He looks just like me, but 6'3", so I reckon you can knock him out. And then he said, I lost my head. Can you see it? She said, how can I relate to somebody who doesn't speak? I want to see you, but you're not mine. It's my party. I'll cry to the end. And it's not my fault that I fucked everybody here. Man, I'm so high. I think I love you. I'm sorry, but I'd rather be getting high than watching my family die. Oh, and I was thinking about killing myself. Don't you mind? I love you. Don't you mind? Don't you mind? Fuck me if you must then. treat me like an old friend. You write about sex and killing yourself and how you hardly ever went to school. I don't want to be your friend. I want to kiss your neck. Okay, so like I said, I'm biased and I revisit a lot of these songs from this album. Not the deluxe version in its entirety, just because it's so long and I've heard The City too many times to count. My most played songs on my Last FM were Sex, Undo, Chocolate, Milk, and Settle Down. Revisiting this album, I definitely like Money, Money, Heart Out, Robbers, She Way Out, and Pressure more than I did back then. It's just hard to say because I was such a huge 1975 fan. They are still one of my top 5 played artists of all time. And see, I'm just a sucker for a song with memorable moments, and all of these songs have super catchy hooks. One of my favorites is the little spoken sang bit at the end of Money, Money, with the accent and the huge sigh. It's just cool and different, very much the streets inspired. And I would have loved it if they explored something like this on a future record. Healy definitely has the vocabulary chops to pull something like this off. I also just want to talk a bit about Menswear. This is definitely the song where Matty is most himself and the most self-aware. And especially knowing what we know about Matty today, it seems that he hasn't changed that much. I particularly mean the section where he starts saying inappropriate things about the bride mid-wedding, because this song is about a British lad at a wedding with an open bar. Me particularly, it reminds me and confronts me about my own parts of my personality that I have been dragging around unapologetically, but just realizing it's actually kind of problematic. It's actually so deep rooted and really hard to weed out. This song is a nice mirror for me to hold up to myself. Next I want to talk about Is There Somebody Who Can Watch You. I saw this song get some criticism, but it's actually one of the most profound songs on the album, even though it has quite a short runtime. It's directly about Healy moving out of his parents' house and leaving his little brother behind. The song reminds me of my mom. She said she really likes this song, and this song is also a bit of a precursor to some of the songs that they would make later, like Mine or Be My Mistake. We have to talk about Robbers. This has to be the Tumblr anthem. You can't convince me that anyone who had a Tumblr account and played the fuck out of this song wouldn't sing along screaming if it came on at a bar with loud music and everybody was just drunk out of their minds. Especially the "Now everybody's dead." It just paints such a specific image of a toxic fantasy that we were all obsessed with when we were all using Tumblr. I think inadvertently it was the way for a lot of us to cope with some of the toxic relationships that we were having or have had, especially around that time. It's kind of giving Stockholm Syndrome. Something I was thinking about as well, what a strange response it is to a horrible situation to romanticize the fuck out of something. I totally see why it's not a good thing, but I also find it beautifully tragic in a way that I can't really describe. It was definitely us coming to terms with the coming up of Instagram and the constant demand for beauty, and we decided to see beauty in things that were not meant to be romanticized. But it made some great fucking music though. Let's move on. She Way Out. Again, we have that classic Matty Healy cadence. You see, it's not about your body, it's just social implications that brought upon this party that we're sitting in. And I'd like to say you changed, but you're always the same. I've got a feeling that the marijuana's rotting your brain. Something about this says so little but so much at the same time. It sounds like he's mashing a bunch of words together and he ends up saying something that's so on the nose, and it's supposed to be self-aware, but he doesn't do anything about his drug addiction until a few album cycles later. That's the thing about this album. I definitely see the unawareness that goes with your drug addiction in its early stages that you might have when you're in your early 20s. Matty Healy made a song later, It's Not Living If It's Not With You, that's way better at dissecting how hard it is to decide to go sober. And I feel like I could be wrong. A lot of artists miss out on the profound material that getting over an addiction provides. And we see the progression of that in the 1975's discography to the point where it feels like an essential part of the lyrical collage. From Caitlin Martin on The Orion in 2015, prescription pills are over-romanticized in modern culture through popular music and social media platforms such as Tumblr and Instagram. There are photos of handfuls of pills and glittering poems about the use of drugs that grace Tumblr dashboards with the words beautiful and tragic hovering around them. The idea that the same drugs that kill tens of thousands of people every year are still being placed in the category as something to be celebrated is concerning for younger generations. Young girls and boys, many of whom are depressed and using the internet as an escape, are seeing these images associated with drugs and thinking that it is something that they should be doing. It's also just a symptom of undiagnosed mental disorders. For example, a lot of adults with ADHD have issues with substance abuse. From Attitude Mag by Carl Sherman, PhD. In our study of young adults, only 30% say they use substances to get high, says Timothy Wylans, MD, Associate Professor of Psychiatry at Harvard Medical School in Boston. 70% are doing it to improve their mood, to sleep better, or for other reasons. This kind of self-medication seems especially common among individuals whose ADHD remains undiagnosed, or who have been diagnosed but have never gotten treatment. When people with ADHD get older, the hyperactive component often diminishes, says William Dodson, MD, an ADHD specialist in Denver. But inside, they're just as hyper as ever. They need something to calm their brain enough to be productive. Whatever the explanation, trouble usually starts in adolescence until age 15. People with ADHD are generally no more likely than people without ADHD to experiment with drugs. From this rate on, rates of abuse and dependency skyrocket. Half of all adults with untreated ADHD will develop a substance use disorder at some point in their lives. I also think it's the platform's love for the UK show Skins that is partially to blame for this. Tumblr users' general attitude towards the content on this album is a symptom of the tendency to ignore problems and to instead just romanticize them and to use them as an aesthetic. I also saw somebody online say Matty thinks that him being controversial is what makes him edgy, and I think that perfectly encapsulates the way that we were dealing with undiagnosed mental disorders and substance abuse as well. So in general, is this album still good? I would say yes, but doing research for this video has definitely given me a conflicting opinion about the content of the record, and especially having dealt with an addiction and getting over it myself. I will definitely look at this album differently and listen to it differently after having made this video, and I think it's the adult realization to come to after making this video. I mean, I have really positive associations that I created with this music at the time that it came out. I have a special relationship around the 1975 with my mom and my best friend, and I have an association that completely exists outside the 1975 members and their actions. And also that's just my general attitude towards separating the art from the artist. If we take Michael Jackson, for example, we all have positive associations with Michael Jackson's music before he allegedly did all of those things. And I'm someone who can just be reminded of the good time and not think of the artist and what they may or may not have done. But I did also just want to make it very clear that I was very torn on making this video. Literally yesterday, I had a very contentious conversation with my boyfriend about Matty Healy. I just wanted to make it clear that I absolutely denounce Matty Healy's actions, and I think what he did is disgusting. But the 1975 is a band, and the 1975 has other members that are not nearly as controversial. I would like to reference this Adam Hahn tweet. In the words of Skepta, that's not me. So where are the 1975 now? They're reportedly working on a new album. Apparently there's going to be an announcement coming soon, if I have to believe TikTok. Will I be as tuned in as I would have been 10 years ago? Probably not. I was not too big on their being funny in a foreign language record, and I'm just a little bit allergic to Jack Antonoff in general. Alas, it's fine to close the chapter on the 1975 if need be. Besides Matty acting like an absolute prick and being extremely bad at taking responsibility and apologizing, I do think that we need controversial things to happen in order to make our minds up about it. And by that, I don't just mean Matty Healy acting as the court jester just so we can have something to discuss, but I mean any controversy. And when I was doing research on this video, I saw all kinds of discourse on FOMOI, on Swift subreddits, 1975 fans defending Matty Healy, and at the end of the day, controversies are going to keep happening, and we can't stop it. And in fact, I would like to argue that we all love it because we need something to talk about and to act holier than thou. Whoever's carrying the brunt of it is really taking one for the team, and it helps us have a conversation about what's wrong, and it can teach us something. I would encourage you to do your own research and to make up your own mind about Matty Healy as a person. Leave a comment telling me if Matty Healy is redeemable or irredeemable. I would love to read them all. Thank you all so much. Hi everybody, so I edited my video yesterday, and at the end I realized that even though I thought the video was already quite long, I was up to about like 12 to 1500 words in my document, and I realized that I didn't actually talk about any of the songs from the deluxe edition. That's fine. So I just decided that I wanted something else at the end, and I decided I'm gonna call this section I Miss the Old Matty Healy. So this one's gonna be a little bit more off the cuff, podcast like. I'm not trying to be too lengthy, but I figured it would be fun if I show you my old tags from my blog with all my 1975 posts, because I used to be someone who would tag... Why can I not do a screen recording? I used to be someone who would tag all of my posts, especially later when I started using Tumblr. So, I'm literally so stupid. I was already recording, and that's why I couldn't record. Okay, bear with me. I'm not a professional YouTuber just yet. Okay, so here's my blog. Look, I used to be at like a proper stan. Like, my mom and I, like I said before, we shared a deep love for the 1975. We loved the kind of topics that they covered. Our favorite songs together were definitely Somebody Else, Loving Someone. Yeah, we listened to I Like It When You Sleep a lot in the car. I have so many fond memories of like singing along with my mom to She's American. So anyway, and I also went to this pop-up. So this is where I met them. I do have the picture. I'll like do it as an insert. I don't really want to like go on my Facebook and show you that way, but I went to this pop-up, and that's where I met them. But let's see where all these posts are from. Does it say? Sometimes it says what time. Oh yeah, here. 30th of October 2016. So see, that's like proper almost 10 years ago. And yeah, I had some of these quotes that I wanted to insert into the video. But like they're just so kooky wacky together. Like, look at them. Like, I personally always thought that the 1975 was one of those bands that like had really good memes as well. Like, this is a really good example. I remember when this was like a thing. Like, thinking, this makes me laugh like looking at this now, but there was a time where Ross would do, like, I'm pretty sure he still does backup vocals, but everybody was just like, we want a full song sang by Ross, right? So that was just really funny. And I found when I was looking, I can't see, hold on, I need to move you a bit, I can't see where I'm clicking. And please also ignore like how messy my house is. I'm sorry, I have ADHD. Like, yes, I'm gonna use that as an excuse. I really wish I was good at cleaning up my house, but I'm not. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue. Here. as well. How are you gonna spend the dosh? Just drugs, endless drugs. Fuck's sake! Like, you could just hear it. You could just hear them talk. That's also something I wanted to talk about. Like, Matty Healy back in the day was such a flamboyant person. Like, he's not LGBT, but he was like an ally in the fullest ways that you can be an ally. Like, look at this picture of him wearing heels. Like, he had definitely had a phase, especially during that I Like It When You Sleep era, where he was so like extravagant and he was really himself, and I just thought that at the time that was so refreshing. And there was also a few good moments where he like did a monologue on stage, but he was right, you know, like the one about like abortion rights when they were in, what was it Alabama, I think it was. Look, that's also something that I wanted to talk about, because he completely sides these days with the, oh, I don't like being sincere, right? Or like, I'd rather be joking around all the time. And then I'm thinking, so when you were making that monologue about abortion, were you being insincere? I find that a really like strange way that he like contradicts himself. And he never used to be like that. Like, he used to be quite like, you know, not like joking around all the time, but like he would know when to be funny and when to be serious, you know? So I don't know. And I think this, at the time, I think a lot of especially the British music industry was really threatened by someone like Matty Healy, who didn't care about like really portraying this popular or mainstream sense of masculinity. He was just someone who wore makeup and tied his hair up and would just have a big mouth and drink wine on stage. Like, yeah, and then he would go on these interviews and he would use all these words that nobody knew what they meant. And that reminds me of something else that I saw recently on the internet, that apparently it's very normal for neurodivergent people, because Matty Healy is neurodivergent. I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I'll use it as an excuse for myself, not for him. But apparently if you're neurodivergent, you tend to use more words that other people don't necessarily know what they mean, because you're always looking for like ways to compartmentalize how you feel. And apparently if you do that, other people, neurotypical people, think that you're calling them stupid. And I think that especially the way that Matty Healy was back in the day, I think that was just a perfect description of what he was like as a person. Like, he is just generally, he comes across really intelligent, let me put it like that. And yeah, that's why I always really liked him, because he was talking about things that nobody else was talking about. And yeah, he would use words that everybody would be like, okay, take that out of the dictionary from 1900. But yeah, still, I'm just gonna see. Yeah, just wanted to see if my recording was going properly. So yeah. so sorry, my cough hasn't completely left yet. But I'm just looking for some funny memes. See, here we are. This is the quote that I meant when I was talking in my video. And I was thinking about leaving again. Oh yeah, here. This is me. This is me, guys. I'm so serious right now. This is me. This one with the pink hair. That's me, innit? Because I remember we were standing there. This is me. This is me. You will see it in the pictures I showed you. But that's my head, bro. I remember saying to him, and I don't know if this is TMI. I don't know if I should share this. As in like Korean TMI. I think, yeah, I'm gonna share it. I remember when I hugged him, he smelled like alcohol. And like, I knew if you listen to his songs, like, I knew that he was, like, struggling a little bit, and I think it was around the time that they were touring a lot, and it was, like, quite hard on them, so I wasn't really surprised, but I was, like, taken aback by it, right? And then I told him, like, oh yeah, I make music, like, I would really want to make music like you, I was, like, 18 at the time. How old? 18, 19, maybe. And then he was like, oh, thank you so much, that means so much to me. And, like, yeah, I talked to all of the members. I had everybody sign this, like, free thing that they gave you. And I talked to Ross and Adam the most, and I thought George was really intimidating, and he had, like, a bunch of people around him because he was definitely, like, the most popular member after Matty. So obviously most people were talking to Matty, but I took some time talking to the other members, and I just remember they were so nice. Like, I just really enjoyed that, and I remember that, I'm really glad that I did that, because it just really showed me that when you're a fan of a band, there's always one person that's, like, really at the front, and the really noticeable one, and the other members kind of get forgotten, right? And I think that's sad, because the other members are really fun and really nice. So yeah, anyway, tangent on me meeting them, but I'm glad I have pictures. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. So I said to him, oh yeah, I'm a fan of your music, like, I want to make music too. And then they picked our group, because there was always a succession of about, like, 8 to 10 people that could go into the room at the same time and talk to them and stuff. And then they picked our group to play a song. I'm still so grateful for having experienced that, because that was probably the most intimate setting in which you could ever see a band like the 1975. Oh, and I'm so grateful that I was there. Anyway, so I miss these times. Like, if it was still like this, I would have definitely still been a fan, because I just always, like, it's everything about it, like the aesthetic, like, these pictures are so beautiful as well. The ones with the neon signs, that was fantastic. And they had so many quotes. Oh, I remember, like, I lived in London at the time, obviously, and I remember seeing these posters everywhere, and I really wanted to, like, have a moment where I could talk to some of those people that would take those posters down, and I really, really wanted one of those posters, but I never ended up getting the chance to get one of those posters. And, like, I have a nice 1975 poster now, so I'm not really that upset about it. But yeah, it would have been cool. But they were massive. Those are the ones that they would, like, use in the tube. But anyway, got a picture of Han. Love that. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it through everything. We should kind of, like, hurry up a bit, because I've been talking for 11 minutes already. That's also something that I noticed, like, yesterday it took me 45 minutes to film, and the edit itself is, like, 15 minutes so far. And that's crazy, because I can literally talk for 45 minutes. Well, I wasn't actually talking for 45 minutes. But, like, it's just crazy that I can just yap to myself for, like, a really long time. Anyway. So yeah, here's also that tweet that I wanted to include, which I haven't done yet. In the words of Skepta, that's not me. I just think that's so funny. And that's what I mean, like, appreciate the other members. Like, Adam Hahn is so underappreciated. And also, that's what I didn't mention when I talked about the Where is the 1975 Now. Like, I feel like a lot of people know, but the drummer of the 1975 is now married, allegedly, to Charlie XCX. That's also the reason why I had the Brat vinyl in the back, because he produced some of the songs on that album. And I think their first collaboration together was Spinning, right? Oh, and I love that song when it came out. Yeah. There was just such a vibe, man. Like, can someone just make a new platform that's exactly like Tumblr, but the way it was when we were all using this? Like, see, I even have some vines. Some defunct vines on this on my blog. That's crazy. Durance, my mouth. Like, that's always what I liked about Tumblr posts as well. like when they start doing the lyrics in the GIFs and stuff, like you hear the song in your head. Like I always like that. It's this song. Okay, I need to take a minute to talk about this song because this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. Like I love a song that is like way too long. And Me is one of those songs. Like if you count Milk on it, it's quite long, but I'm pretty sure even before you take Milk off, it's already like 5 minutes or something. Like I love that. It like drags on, it builds up, and especially at the end where it's going, yeah, it takes a bit more. Like I love that. It's just, this song is so good. Oh wait, hold on. Oh, then this one is You. Me, You. Oh, come on, Genius, fuck off. What is this? 1975. You. Yeah. Yeah, I love this bit. You're in live, at least as far as I can tell, you are, and so am I. You beat me down, and then we're back to my car. And it's so ironic how it's only been a year, and it's not my fault that I fucked everybody here. Like what I said in the video itself. Why is there a Taylor Swift recommendation? He says so much with saying so little, and sometimes it makes sense, and sometimes it doesn't. But I love that. Like, and the especially like the vibe of this song is just really. It's just so atmospheric. It feels so British. I don't know. I don't know how I can even describe it. Like, I'm not Anthony Fantano. Like, I'm not the one who, like, starts talking about what music sounds like sonically and starts to compare it to all of these, like, different sounds. Maybe in the future. I'm not good at that yet. But instead, I'm good at, like, yapping about the pop culture bit and what happens around. Because that's... should I talk about that now? Yeah, why not? And then I'm gonna wrap it up, like, quite soon. If I find some memes. Let me just scroll through my blog really quickly. But that was one of the reasons that I wanted to start this blog, because I think it's really quite strange to talk about music in a vacuum, because music does not exist in a vacuum. And what I mean by that is there's so many things that happen around the music, right? So exactly what I said in the video, like, you know, what you talk about when you write a song is relevant, what people take away from the song, like concerts, merchandise, and yeah, especially after the 1975 aesthetics became extremely relevant, because I'm pretty sure, like, around the time that Lady Gaga and Rihanna and stuff, like, before the 2010s were really, really popular, there wasn't necessarily, like, especially for men, there wasn't necessarily an expectation to have a certain aesthetic around a release. And I'm thinking particularly about, like, The Killers, Kings of Leon, like, those kind of bands. But then, like, the 2010s rolled around and Instagram came and iPhones, and everybody had a camera in their pocket at all times. And people started to think more about, like, how the world looks. And started tying that together with music, and that's what I mean. Like, those things are all a part of itself now, and that's part of the reason why I always mention the album cover in the retrospective, because it's like an essential part of music, but it is something that people don't talk about, which is really strange because there's so much work that goes into an album cover. And last year, was it last year? Maybe right at the end of 2023, I watched this documentary about Storm Thorgerson. I never know how to pronounce his last name. Anyway, so he made a lot of the album covers for Pink Floyd and lots of other bands that I can't think of right now. But especially, like, the earlier ones with the cow, that took so much work, you know what I mean? And they were some of the first people to make the album cover relevant, because before that you would just have a picture of the band and all of the typography that describes the album's songs and the runtime and who produced it and stuff like that. And Pink Floyd was actually, if I'm not mistaken, the first band to leave the band name and the title of the album out of the album cover, and that's just really revolutionary at the time. And it just makes me sad because, like I said, like, all of those things exist alongside each other, and that's what makes music. Like, music is not just music, it's also music videos. It's also, especially if we talk about K-pop, it's about the concept photos that go with it. It's about the outfits that they wear on stage. It's about the visuals that they have on stage, and all of those things make up the artist together. And that's just something that I really love. Like, that's one of the reasons why I really love K-pop. And I feel like, especially in the 1975 and all those bands that took aesthetic into part of their musical identity, really made me interested in K-pop, because I love it when everything exists alongside each other. And yeah, the 1975 was definitely one of the first bands that I knew of that did that and had like a complete playbook of how they would make music. And yeah, a tangent, like, this video is going to be 20 minutes long extra, so I also have the way I can't like scroll and talk about this at the same time. But yeah, but I just love that. Like, I think you can't just talk about the 1975 and just talk about their music. You have to talk about all of the other things that happen. Like, you don't have to talk about the memes that happen in the fandom, because that's kind of out of control of the band as well. Speaking of memes, here it says play Antichrist, which is also something I wanted to talk about. And then I think I'll try to keep scrolling and then just wrap it up a little bit, because I don't want this video to be too long. But yeah, I hope you agree with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you genuinely just can't talk about the 1975 and just talk about their music. You have to talk about how everything's designed. You have to talk about the way they dress. You have to talk about the way the album covers look, and what they mean, and the visuals. And it's just such an essential part of the 1975 and so many other bands as well. And like, oh yeah, especially their stage production. I think I already scrolled past a picture of their stage production, but especially, oh yeah, here we go. Here's a picture of them when they're playing live. See, like, they always had this rectangle, and it's so recognizable. Like, you don't even have to recognize the members on stage, but you can see the rectangle, and somebody can take a picture from a crowd, and you can look at that, and you can know that that is the 1975. How did they even do that? Like, how did they think, oh yeah, the rectangle, let's make that our brand? And it worked. It worked so well, and it just... okay, like, I think I'm gonna wrap it up sometime soon, but... oh yeah, Antichrist, that's what I wanted to talk about. So, if you know, you know, but there's this song on the deluxe version of the self-titled album called Antichrist, and it was a fan favorite, and fans always ask them to play it live, but they never did. Like, genuinely, they've been a band for 12 going on to 13 years. Well, actually 23 years if you think about it. They were formed with the four of them in 2002, and they never, since they blew up, they never played that song live. And I also looked it up while doing research for this video, and someone said, like, I think they might do it when they headline Glastonbury, which I'm pretty sure they're going to this year, right? I'm not sure. Oh, next summer. Oh, I guess it is this year then. It's the 1975 to headline Glastonbury 2025. Anyway, Antichrist. So let's not get distracted. So yeah, they never ended up playing that song live. Yeah, I hope they do. And I especially hope that if they do, that I will be there, because I've been a fan for a long time, and I think I deserve to be there. Can we try and find a meme? You got pretty kind of dirty face. Like this. Okay, this is the part that I meant. I did English, maths, IT, music, German. I failed all of them. And that's just what I think I'll end on that. Like, we don't have to go through this whole blog. I thought it was going to take way less long. But, like, back in the day, especially to impressionable teenage girls like me, Matty Healy was just a very likable person. And he knew how to make himself approachable and relatable. And I think a lot of people must hate that word now, relatable. And I think as well that the 1975 was never really the kind of band that was geared up to deal with the amount of fame that they have. And I mean, that's also what you get when you date Taylor Swift. But you know, I think a lot of what happened is also partially because of that. There's a lot of people, especially when people are criticizing him online, a lot of the time it is Swifties. I don't blame them, but I just think they were never really the kind of band that were gearing up to be that famous. Like, I think they were managing really well when they were really popular on Tumblr and they could connect with their fan base that way. Their fan base was reading their lyrics, was engaging with the art, and singing along to every song at a concert. Like, you know, and they always expressed that they were completely fine with having like mainly female audience. And yeah, especially like the way, if I look back on it, it's a good time. Like, I remember just loving being a part of the fandom and talking about the memes and listening to the music and being at the shows and singing along with all the other girls. It was just really fun, and I still think that the 1975 fan base was a one of a kind. Like, all of the other fan bases that I'm in are like very much a mixed bag. Like, there's, especially in K-pop, there's like lots of different people from different walks of life, and I think that's cool. But even if I go to like a Paramore show, it's also like a really mixed bag. And especially if they were to play now, I have no idea what to expect, because Paramore grew so much in the last like 5 years. So yeah. Anyway, here's me talking about Paramore now. I should probably make a video about Paramore sometime soon. That's my favorite band. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up there. See, 28 minutes. It is so easy for me to ramble for half an hour to absolutely no one. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this like off the cuff kind of outro to this video, because I just felt like the video itself, like, even though it had good content, it was a bit too short. And maybe I'll incorporate this part into my videos more often. If you like it, let me know, because I am a Tumblr veteran. Okay, I started using that website in like 2012. I have been through all of the different stages. I don't use it as much now. Like, I prefer using Pinterest, because I liked using it for this, and there's not much music anymore on Tumblr, and I think that that's really sad. Like, you have other people who are veterans, but they post more about the kind of like fantasy books and those kind of things, and I'm not really into that, unfortunately. My dad's turning in his grave, but anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. I do not know yet which album I'm going to be covering. It's probably going to be Badlands by Halsey. So yeah, let me know if you're excited for that. If and I need to be putting some more time towards making those videos. So again, thank you for watching. I will see you next week. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment if you think Matty Healy is redeemable or irredeemable. I would love to read them all, and have a good rest of your weekend.